Welcome to our podcast, The Better You Are, The Better You Are. Whether it is physically, mentally, or spiritually, when you know better, you can do better. And when you do better, you'll be better. On this podcast, we share knowledge, expertise, opinions, and experiences. All things that can help you to change the game. By the time we're done, it's hard for you not to be encouraged. So join us. The better you are, the better you are.
Our speakers today include Dr. Regina Adair. Dr. Adair is the Regional Medical Director for Team Health's OB-GYN Hospitalist Northeast and Indiana markets. She is also the Facility Medical Director for the Indiana University Ball Memorial OB-GYN Hospitalist Program. She has more than 20 years of experience in the field of obstetrics and gynecology. Next is Dr. Joanne Mattori. Dr. Mattori is a neonatologist with 40 years of experience, having worked in neonatal intensive care units in Chicago, Atlanta, and now in Indianapolis. She is currently the medical director of the neonatal intensive care unit at Eskenazi Hospital in Indianapolis, Indiana, and is also a faculty attending physician at Riley Hospital Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. We also have Sierra Woods. Sierra is a postpartum registered nurse, international board certified lactation consultant, postpartum doula, and an Indiana certified community health worker. She is founder of the Melamama Maternal Wellness Program in Indianapolis, Indiana, focused on providing accessible lactation care for women of color and underserved communities. We also have Dr. Ann Oceantoken. Dr. Oceantoken is a pediatrician with 27 years experience. She is with Peyton Manning Children's Hospital and the Ascension Medical Group in Indiana and has been with them for the past 21 years. She takes care of children from birth to young adulthood at the age of 21. We also have Dr. Tamika Dawson. Dr. Dawson is a highly experienced family and sports medicine physician based in Indianapolis, Indiana. She also has some 20 years of experience and is a course director at the Indiana University School of Medicine. And I am Dr. Lauren Dungy-Poitras. I am a maternal fetal medicine specialist, which means that I specialize in high-risk obstetrics, and I have decades of experience as well and have worked with different programs throughout my career, including here in Indiana, as well as other states. Okay, I just want to ask this awesome panel that we have here today. 3 different questions just to stimulate a conversation about facing adversity. And all of us have children, a lot of us have daughters. I have a passion for helping young women of color. We realize that we face more challenges than maybe we should, or maybe that's the way God planned it because we have great things that He has planned for us. But there are ways to help and reach back to the people behind us who might come along with some of the adversities that we face. So I'd just like to have a conversation while we're sitting here. And I have 3 questions that I prepared. The first one is, did anyone ever tell you, imply to you, or treat you as if you would not be successful or make it to your goal? And anybody who wants to answer that, we can start over here with Tamika.
So, yes.
Shocked.
Absolutely. I think the hardest part is at the time, I had won every award in residency. I was chief resident, and I decided early on in my residency career that I wanted to do sports medicine. And so I was told as a 3rd year sports medicine or 3rd year resident that I would not get the sports medicine fellowship, that they would not allow a Black woman to be a fellow. Needless to say, I am a sports medicine doctor, so that did not work. But it did hurt a little to think that just because I am a Black woman that I wouldn't. And this was from a former sports medicine fellow that told me that I would not be. I would not be looked at. And then even some of the sports medicine physicians at the time said, one in particular said, well, you didn't interview well. And I was like, well, what does that mean, that I didn't interview well? That's not really a thing. Did I say something inappropriate? Did I do something inappropriate? if you can't give me a reason why I didn't interview well, then how do you know someone doesn't interview well? And the interesting thing about it was at that time I was competing with my white male colleague who had not won all the awards and wasn't as successful in residency as I was, but was one of my closest friends. And we both got the fellowship because there was 2 spots. But the fact that they didn't think, oh, you both are great candidates, we will really struggle. I was the inferior candidate and had nothing to do with anything other than the color of my skin, and I was a woman.
How did that make you feel when they said you just didn't do well when we talked to you? What did you feel? And
I think at the time, I was hurt and angry because I didn't really understand.
Did you feel like, oh, maybe I didn't do well, or there's something?
I felt like there was something wrong with me. What did I not do? How did I not? And, what exactly? And this was someone who had taught me during residency. So he had to be in on the awards that I've gotten and all of these other things. And so I just was shocked that I was like, well, I must have done something. And I was, of course, young in my career. Now someone says that it's completely different. But then I was young and not realizing that there is definitely an issue when it comes to the most educated people in the United States, which is Black women. We experience microaggressions every day in a way that most people will never, ever understand. And so I internalized it a lot, but it pushed me. It pushed me to be the best.
But you felt like you were going to keep going.
I was going to keep going. I wasn't going to let it go. And I was going, and at the time I thought, well, if I don't get in here, then I'll interview somewhere else and I'll get in somewhere else. But it left a little doubt for a little while, and then as my career progressed, I worked NFL Combine for 10 years. I have worked every stage of being on TV, covering games, and have been successful, have also trained other fellows who are now over teams. And so I'm proud of that. But that little doubt lingered for a really long time.
And I think that's so important because I think people do set into people's minds, gaslighting and other things. There's just something about you that just wasn't quite right. And I want to help people, all types of people, to not internalize that. You evaluate yourself and decide, well, did I do poorly? Do I need to improve on something? And you decide that and not necessarily make it what other people think about you. I distinctly remember in my fellowship that I had somebody say to me, I've never met anybody like you. And I remember, and he was just upset about something that I said in a polite manner. And I remember looking at him and saying, I'm sure you haven't, sir. But the reality is you've met a lot of people like me who say, this is what I need, this is what I require. They just didn't look like me. There's something about the way I look that makes that sound different, seem different, but it's not about me. And the sooner we all, and sometimes it is about you, and sometimes you need to be honest and reflect that, but sometimes if we can just reflect and not internalize it, and unfortunately, that is the whole reason I do things like this, because people are dropping things into our young people's mind that there's something just not right about you. You're just not good enough, and that's not true.
Yeah, all the time.
So what advice would you give to my 2 daughters when somebody says something like that to them?
The advice that I give my mentors and I would give your 2 daughters is, well, what do you think about that? What about you would make you think that you're less than anyone else? And if that answer is nothing, which it should be, then guess what? Don't internalize it. Don't hold on to that. Don't give that any energy or fire within you, because as soon as you do, though, that will limit you to think that, well, if I try this, I'm going to fail. The only failure is not trying.
Amen. And you can keep moving forward, even if there are a few things I could have improved on. I'm going to improve on it and keep going forward.
Exactly.
How about you, Ann? Okay, well, that's no problem. Any advice that you'd give to my 2 daughters back there about
the advice I would give to every girl, every daughter, including my daughters and other friends' daughters, and every girl that is going, especially girls of color, is, stick to it. You are who you are, and let everybody know that you know yourself and you are willing to explore yourself at the same time. And don't take, people's words for the Bible, meaning that if somebody says you're not going to make it, or don't try this, you ask yourself, what would you want to do? It's just as, we've just been hearing, is you have to be the person to evaluate yourself and decide what you want to do and try it first. It may not be right, but at least you tried.
I think that's so true. So sometimes I give these little presentations, I like to talk about David and Goliath and how when he went down to give his brother some food, and the giant came out and, said all these things, and he asked the simple question, what happens to the person who faces Goliath? And his brother, Eliab, turns to him and says, who are you? What are you doing here with you? You just came down from those few measly sheep you take care of, and you just wanted to see the battle. And he looks at him, I love this. And the Bible says, then he turned and asked somebody else's question. I don't have time for you right now. I don't have time for this. I'm on a course. I'm going to turn and get somebody who can help me with this, because the story isn't David and Eliab. The story is David and Goliath. And so it might have been totally different if he bothered to listen to that and respond to that. And so that's something I think is also important. How about you, Sarah? Do you have any?
I often think about, recently I had a lady come up to me and ask me, how did you get to where you are? Now, this was a white woman that asked me that. And she kept wondering, how did I know what steps to take? Or, I don't know, it's the way that she asked me that made me feel uncomfortable. And I remember going home to my parents and telling them about it. And they were like, you know what, that should be a way for you to keep pushing, because that means you're doing something right. Because she's questioning how you got to where you are. I worked hard. That's how I got to where I'm at. And so, and I'm also realizing more and more, no matter what, wherever you are in life, always be yourself, because no one can be you better than you. Mm-hmm. So don't ever try to be like, oh, I saw, Beyonce's doing this now, let me try to do that. No, be you. Like, I can only be Sierra, mm-hmm. and I have to always show up as my authentic self.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Mm-hmm. How about you, Joanne?
I haven't had specific examples that I would give, but I've certainly walked into a room where I could tell that, the vibe changed. It got quiet. I was there, and, I wasn't a part of that group because I was the one, and, African-American at the time. The one thing that I tell my daughters and would say to any young people, this continues to happen. Mm-hmm. And things that happen to me, again, unstatedness, frequently years ago, my daughter is experiencing as we speak in 2024. And you would think that it would have been addressed. She, for example, has degrees and, she studied abroad, she's done all this work, but they still are challenging her being there. And it just doesn't seem to want to go away. And so you continue to work at it. If that's your goal, and I believe firmly that God will put us where He wants me to be, and He will guide me through it. And so you take that, I take that, and I give that same speech to my two daughters, that, believe in yourself and know that you're where God wants you at the time. And it's rough, it's hard. We have a lot of stories in the Bible that tell us that, it's not always an easy road, but He'll take us through it. And I think what just bothers me sometimes is that it hasn't gotten better. It hasn't gone away. And so my daughter is dealing with some of the same issues, negative issues that I dealt with so many years ago.
Amen. And in that same story of David and Goliath, nobody thought David was going to beat Goliath. He was surrounded by naysayers who said, you can't do this. And he did. So if God is for us, who can be against us? How about you, Dr. Adair?
So yes, my experience was in college as a freshman. So, go to college, you have aspirations to be a physician, you got to take all those crazy hard classes. So my first semester of chemistry. So you transition to college and it's a whole nother world for you, and I got a C. And so I go to my professor and I'm like, I don't know why I can't get this. This is hard for me. He was like, what do you want to do with your life? I said, I'm going to be a doctor. He said, you'll never be a doctor. And it's like somebody knocked the wind out of my chest. I couldn't breathe. I mean, I wasn't going to let him see me cry, but I wanted to just be done. And so he just destroyed me. You know, you're never going to, this is just, you're at the first set of your science courses. You're never going to, it only gets worse from here. What are you going to do in organic? And I was like, and so I left and I cried. And again, I'm an OBGYN. I have an MBA also. So it doesn't matter. There's always going to be somebody telling you what you can't do. And I know that I am where I am because this is where God had for me to be. And what God has for you is for you.
Amen.
And so the advice that I would give any young woman is you have to see yourself as God sees you. You can't pay attention to all the nonsense and noise out there. You have to always look from God's perspective. How does God see me? Where does God see that, you know, my finish line? And if I was a different person, if I didn't have the foundation that I had with my faith, I probably would have been done. I mean, there are many opportunities. Failure is imminent in success, right? You're not always going to be the best at everything, but it doesn't mean that you can't attain your goals.
Exactly. And to Sierra's point, you are who you are. And God put things into you that are special for you for the plan that God has for you. So you don't compare yourself to other people, and you do the best that you can and you move on. And I love, like, yeah, it's okay to cry. I cry. You know, I know that people see us, they see us so confident and everything. And it's good to know we've all gone through struggles. We've all been down. We've all cried, but we keep going forward because we can do all things through Christ.
Can I add?
Yes, ma'am.
Also, everything that you go through is pushing
Amen.
you to get to the next step.
Preparing you.
So, yes. So, like, because you had that happen to you, like, you knew that you're going to hear that again, but guess what? You probably didn't cry as long the next time you heard that, you know? So it always pushes you. Like, I think about everything that I have gone through in my life, anything, like, it helped prepare me to get to where I'm at now.
Yeah, and I'd also like to add, because, you know, I'll be honest with you, anytime I go for adversity, which may have happened when I was a resident, I usually I'm the burying kind of person, trying to bury it and not think about it. And that's probably when you asked me that question, I probably was like, nothing. But, you know, I remember when I was a resident in New York, Long Island everybody knows Long Island. It's a very affluent part of New York. And I remember being a pediatric resident there, and the residency program I had joined I was the second Black person in the whole residency program. They'd never seen one before me, or the lady before had come before me. So I remember very well that I would have ward rounds with the residents, and being a senior resident, I would have ward rounds with the residents and the medical student, and I will be leading the round, and the patients would just be talking to, you know, the tall white guy. And I will be standing there, and I'll be like, well, I'm the resident. Hi, it's me. I'm the resident, the senior resident. And I noticed that I would be totally ignored. And till today, I think that it was probably a little bit of trauma, because my daughters are like, Mom, you dress up everywhere you go. And I said, yeah, I don't wear scrubs. You will never see me wearing scrubs to the pediatric office. You would never see me wearing a white coat. I'm sorry, but I would dress to the nines. And I think it's just so that I can be seen as, even if you don't see my color, you see that she's dressed very well. So I think that's my trauma. That's my way of dealing with, I don't want anybody to mistake me for something else, meaning that, are you here to take my name? Or are you here today, give me my food? So you will not mistake me for that. And I think that's part of, having that kind of repetitive kind of behavior when a couple of years ago, 20, 30 years ago, that's the way I deal with it. I won't give you that chance because I know how much you hurt me. Does that make sense? So that will probably be what I would like to contribute.
That's funny. That reminds me of when I was also a fellow, but I was the attending on at night and at this hospital, and we had to operate. And I walk in with this tall white male student. And at the same time, so you're wet, you're scrubbed, you're waiting for the scrub tech to help you put on your gown and your gloves. She passes me to this tall white male and helps him. I'm still standing there. And then somebody says, well, who's the attending? We don't have our attending here. We can't start. And I said, that would be me. And then they're like, oh, heavens. He must have been the attending. When she said, oh, and you're Dr. Dungy, like, no, I'm not. And he's like, well, we can't start. We don't have our attending here. That might be me. And that's all right. And they certainly learn my name, but you can be overlooked oftentimes. That was my husband's favorite nurse. I had somebody say once that when we do OB-GYN residency, you have to do 3 months. We had to do 3 months of internal medicine. And so this one patient said, my husband hasn't seen a doctor the whole time he's been here. Real nice nurse comes in every day, but he's not seen a doctor yet, and I need him to see a doctor. Now, I didn't walk in there and say, my name is Nurse Jones. I'm like, I'm Dr. Dungy Poitras. At the time, I wasn't married, so it was just Dr. Dungy. But you are overlooked on so many levels, but that doesn't mean you don't keep going. And there's some good times, too, and some other things. Support, like opportunities to interact like this, but as well as other things. God will keep you going in your path and drop enough support to keep you going so that you don't give up. I would also like to ask because we know that just life in general is stressful, our fields of expertise are stressful, what do you do to relax, to rejuvenate, to take time for yourself? Let's start on this side.
My faith. I meditate. I read. Well, not really read. I spend a lot of time in the car, so I listen to my books. And I spend a lot of time in prayer, to be perfectly honest. That for me is the only thing that keeps me sane. I don't even know what other word to use. We're bombarded so much by all the nonsense in the world and at work, and just talking about what you were just saying. People not expecting us to be sitting at the table. And over time, that takes a toll. And the only way that I feel that I can shield myself from that is to get in the Word.
Because over time, you might feel like, well, maybe I don't fit in here, or maybe I don't belong here. And that's, and sometimes in certain circumstances, maybe you don't. But that's something you tell yourself, and that's not something that you let other people tell you. I distinctly remember my mom asking me after I graduated from medical school, did you ever think you couldn't make it? And I thought about it for a minute. I said, no, I never thought I couldn't make it. But there were times I thought, do I want to make it? So, and I'm glad I did. I made it, and I'm doing things I want to do. But so you are who God says you are, and you listen to who God tells you are, not to what other people say you are. And unless you're in the Word, like you say, and studying it, how do you know what God says you are?
That's a chronic fight, I think, for a lot of us. As I know you guys have heard of imposter syndrome, where you feel like you're in these situations, but you don't belong. And so for me, personally, I struggle with that every day. And so I have to maintain my relationship with God so I see myself the way He sees me, or else all that stuff just overtakes me.
And I think that's an important point, too, because sometimes you're in a situation, maybe that you don't feel like, I don't belong here. Or, I don't belong here. You guys are picky about things. You're snipey. But God has me here for a reason. God has me here to be a light in the midst of maybe not so light or darkness. And so my job is to do my job and to be a ambassador for God, and He will take care of the rest. I'm just going to pray about it, do what I need to do, and keep on going. So it can feel struggle sometimes, and I feel blessed that I think I'm past that point. But yeah, we've all gone through that, and particularly when people are trying to suggest that, yeah, you just didn't do as well. You just didn't do as well as him, or you're just not as good, or yeah, no, I am good. I'm good because God says I'm good. And I can do whatever
Amen.
God has put me on a path to do. How about you, Joanne?
Certainly have had those experiences and those times when the room, as I said before, is saying that I don't belong. I tend to have to remain in prayer. I probably don't study as much as I should, but I'll tell you, I pray, constantly, without ceasing, and get in the car, drive, go to work every day, every night. So I know that sustains me. But then on the question that you had in terms of what to do to relax, it's music for me. And what I took piano lessons, growing up, and then got away from it, of course. And I don't play as much now as I used to, but I stopped because when I would start to practice or play, I'd stay there forever and then get up and feel guilty that I hadn't been doing something else, right? But it's very relaxing for me. So if I'm not playing, I'm listening to music, and it just helps me kind of effervesce and forget about all of this other stuff that's going on.
How about you, Sierra?
Let's see. So I love to get my nails done. So that's like my time. And I schedule it at least once a month by myself. Another thing that I do is I love to be in the shower for a long time. And my husband be like, you still in the shower? Sorry. But that's like my time. Like I literally go in there and lock the door.
Nice.
Be in the shower for an hour.
Get those scents going and the different polish. Yeah, no, it's nice. And that warm water.
That just calms me so much, yes.
I tell you, I do my nails too, but I do my own. And I enjoy it because I can change the color every week, and it's like, so I enjoy things like that. And but I also like music, and Dr. Adair can tell you sometimes when I'm upset, sometimes when I'm in a good mood, I hum Blessed Assurance. And so we've been in the OR together. And so, but I like music, and, I send out songs that I like. It helps me relax. So, but I firmly believe, as you all pointed out, that, first I get up early in the morning, I study my Bible. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything else will be added to it. So if I don't start there, I don't know how, as you all point out, how I might face my day. But then I like to exercise. It makes me feel good. I think the more you, I tell people if you exercise, you'll feel good. And then as you start to change your shape, you feel good about yourself, And so, but if I don't have time to exercise, I just study my Bible. And then music, doing the nails. I like the lotions. I like all those other things as well. How about you, Ann?
I like the Bible too. I love to do Bible study fellowship. I think that's very relaxing. And that gives me a lot of motivation to face the week. I get a lot of devotions. I get a couple from you as well. They're beautiful devotions, and I listen to the music as well. I play competitive tennis, and that to me is the best thing ever. It just takes my mind away. I listen to podcasts, stories, and books on tape. Those are great things for me as well. So and then I do a lot of Pilates, and that's a great one too. So exercise.
Something for yourself that you like.
I should be exercising. I'm just working on it.
How about you, Tamika?
I think I am the worst meditator in the world. I've tried it. I've tried to journal. None of that works. For me, I exercise all the time. I have a Peloton. I built a whole gym based off of working out at home during COVID. So for me, that's the most relaxing. The other aspect is I pray a lot, but I see signs a lot. I feel like if you pray to God, you need to sometimes be reassured that he's hearing you. And I get that a lot. I'll never forget this past fall, I told a patient one day I was like, I don't really have the bandwidth for this today. I'm tired. We were joking, and she's been my patient for 20 years. And I had a meeting with someone who's tends to have a lot of microaggressions against me. And that patient had sent me some flowers.
Wow.
And she said, I hope you have the bandwidth today
Wow.
before my meeting. And so I think if you listen to God, and talk to God, He's listening to you. He's going to give you signs to keep going all the time. And so I exercise. That's my form of meditation.
Yeah, it releases endorphins in your head. You just feel better as opposed, and you start out on where you are on the way to where you're going. So if it's just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, then your body is so funny. It's like, oh, when you're just not doing anything, I don't want to do anything. But then we haven't exercised today. What's wrong? Are you getting up? Are you going? So once you get into a routine, you look forward to it. So yeah, it's fun. Well, we went through my 3 questions. Any other topics that you all want to bring up or talk about?
I just encourage all of us. We've all been through struggles, and even for the young ladies who are matriculating through life, that you have to share your struggle, because people need to see folks that look like them, who have had challenges but have overcome them. And I share a lot, probably more than most people do, because I believe that's what God has me here to share, that my path wasn't straight. My path was very jagged and a lot of valleys, and most of them because of my choices. However, that He is in control and He is faithful. And so just share.
Yep, He has a plan, and it's a good plan, and it doesn't matter what obstacle gets in your way. If God says it's for you, it's for you. So you keep going. It just and that's easy for us to say maybe now that we've been through these challenges and we know that God has brought us through. I always tell people sometimes you don't have your own experiences. You haven't lived long enough. There's experiences in the Bible that can tell you. That's why I like talking about David and other examples. But eventually you're going to get your own, and you can reflect back on how I remember when God had that patient send me I love you kind of
A reminder, don't go off on that baby today.
Yeah. So, and it's amazing. You're like, wow. You're like, who'd have thought that? Exactly. Make your enemies your footstool.
That is true.
There you go. Anything else?
Just thank you for inviting me.
Ladies, I can't thank
It
you
was
enough.
amazing.
Thank you. We'll have to do something like this again. So thank you all. So, as we've all said, we've all faced challenges. We all will face adversity. The Bible says, in this life, you will have trials and tribulations. So you can count on them coming. And we've all shared some things that help us through it. I think you will recognize the theme that our faith is certainly a strong factor in that helps us keep moving forward. So we just pray that everyone can keep moving forward, and we hope that we've been helpful to somebody in some way today. Thank you.
Thank you for listening in today. Weren't you inspired, encouraged, and uplifted? We hope so, because we're praying the best for you. Join us again next time for more betterment, because the better you are, the better you are.